A busy day for the leader of the Catholic Church during his last day in the nation's capital. Good evening. This is CTV News for Thursday, September 24th. I'm Patricia Vallone.
And I'm Byron Scott. Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, a historic day on Capitol Hill as Pope Francis makes the first ever papal address to the Congress. Now, the Pope touching on many familiar themes during his speech. He spoke of America's obligation to take the lead in combating climate control. He also talked about protecting human life at every stage of development. The Pope renewing his call to end the death penalty globally, and calling himself a son of immigrants, Pope Francis implored America's leaders to accept immigrants as their own children.
On this continent, thousands of persons are led to travel north in search of a better life for themselves and for their loved ones, in search of greater opportunity. It is not what we want for our own children. We must not be taken aback by the numbers, but rather view them as persons, seeing their faces and listening to their stories.
The Pope also spoke at length about American figures, including Abraham Lincoln and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
After captivating local Catholics over a 3-day stay in Washington, D.C., the pontiff departs the capital and heads for his next leg in the U.S. Pope Francis departed on a plane at Joint Base Andrews and is heading to New York, where he'll participate in prayer services at St. Patrick's Cathedral and deliver a speech to the United Nations.
And Maryland's governor has the honor of meeting the pontiff during a brief stop in D.C. Governor Larry Hogan and wife Yumi were part of a small gathering of about 30 people at the Catholic Charities Chapel today. Now, Hogan, who is Catholic, received blessings on behalf of all cancer patients. A spokesperson tells CTV News that the Pope also gave the governor and the First Lady rosaries from the Vatican and says they were the only people in the room to receive an individual blessing.
Prince George's State's Attorney Angela Also Brooks has strong words for the jury in the Antoine James trial after a not guilty verdict on murder charges. James was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter in the 2013 death of James Newell. And Also Brooks says given the evidence, including surveillance video showing the defendant shooting his stepfather 18 times, she says that jurors disregarded the law because they sympathized with the mother.
We just ask that when you have an opportunity to consider these cases, we do put a lot of time and resources in these cases. We work very hard on them. And although I know sometimes the temptation is there to be sympathetic, that we really do ask that they look at the evidence and judge based solely on the evidence and not to consider sympathy in cases like this.
Attorney Aisha Braveboy says that jury nullification is relatively rare, but well within its power.
Jury nullification is where a jury takes the facts that's presented to them during the trial, applies it to the law, and renders a verdict inconsistent with what they have found. So in an instance where, let's say, a jury determines that someone did shoot and kill someone else, even if it were with intent, specific intent, that type of thing, the jury can render a verdict of not guilty, even though the jury believes that the person did commit the crime for which they.
Now, Braveboy adds that sometimes what seems like jury nullification is actually the members' way of compromising to avoid a mistrial due to a hung jury. And you are watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone.
And I'm Byron Scott.